I wanted to wrap up with a couple questions. We do have a mailbag. You can email questions at 247wallstreet.com, or we have our YouTube channel where we'll post some videos of this podcast and some other videos that we'll clip together. You can post questions there. I think one of our questions today is coming from a YouTube comment. So we're happy to take questions to the email address or on the YouTube channel. So I wanted to start first, take a question. This was a question we actually got on the website from Jeff. He says, is there an ETF that you would recommend of the AI stocks that you like? You just talked about, the ease of investing on something like Micron and being able to just type in a ticker symbol. We don't have any ETFs. We haven't talked about ETFs on this show at all. What is your take? And is that a reasonable way to invest in AI? If someone's like, I don't want to go buy all the individual tickers, is there anything out there that you've seen that is a reasonable alternative? Or are there reasons why you opt not to use an ETF to get exposure to this?
Yeah, the reality is there's no one size fits all to investing, right? And it's whatever anyone feels comfortable with. If you're going out and buying an ETF and you're prepared to sit on that for the long term, you're doing better than 95% of people out there. That's a great start because, most people when managing their money, they're not getting the full benefits of market returns over time. Now, the downside of ETFs, especially for trends like this, is you're often not getting the exposure that you would like. ETFs, they're often in companies that get, too stuck. So let's use an example. If you were to look at ARK Investments, which is very popular, they might have a lot more exposure to kind of the SaaS companies and software, which might not be the particular play that you see. We've talked about wanting to work in a phase strategy where we start with processors, we then get data center plays. We're opportunistically adding where we see advancements in things like memory. As time goes on throughout this year, we're going to continue adding more software plays. So, we have a very different strategy that you're not really able to capture in an ETF is the honest thing, but it does require a little bit more work. So if, an ETF gets you most of the way there and you'd like to listen to this podcast just to hear about advancements in AI, to listen to the two of us wax philosophical, that's great. And we're not casting any aspersions at investing primarily through ETFs. So what I did was I just went and I started how your average user would, and I Googled best ETFs. 24/7 Wall Street should have been the top result, but hey, Google, they're not always bubbling up the best. So I looked at one of the articles. I looked at what their suggestions were. So the first ETF I pulled up was Xtrackers ETF, which is XAIX. They had some kind of marketing fluff around investing in companies with the highest patents. That's all it is, right? You're looking for some way to differentiate when you make an ETF. I won't pay any credence to that. Their top holdings were in order: Facebook number 1, Bank of America number 2, Amazon number 3, Salesforce, Apple, Nvidia. They had some interesting stuff in there. They had XAIX, which, like I said, can be difficult for most investors to buy. But David, I saw your face squinch up when I put Bank of America number 2, with good reason. That might be a perfectly fine company, but as far as AI exposure, it's completely silly. Would I think that this gives you better exposure to AI than just buying a NASDAQ ETF, which should be the question you ask for any of these? The answer is no. So that one gets right away a down thumbs for me. Yep. The second one I looked at was Roundhill Generative AI and Technology ETF, ticker CHAT, kind of work off Chat GPT, I would assume. 0.75% expense ratio. It's kind of in the zone for an ETF that uses some active management. Honestly, this one was better. Their top 10 holdings were NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, Meta, Taiwan Semiconductor, SK Hynix again, Hewlett Packard, Dell, Arista Networks, Marvell. I like most of those stocks. I think they're pretty aligned with AI. I would honestly say that was the best of the bunch that I looked at. If I looked at that, I would say most of these stocks actually have good exposure to AI. You're getting what it promises. Mm-hmm. That would be a better candidate. And finally, I looked at Global X Artificial Intelligence and Technology ETF, AIG. I don't know if I would want the ticker AIG if I was building something,
It's got some bad memories on it from 15 years ago.
Yeah, and this one had Tesla, Broadcom, ServiceNow, Netflix, Cisco, Meta, Salesforce, IBM, Amazon, Oracle. So, again, I can see why the stocks are fitting in, but that's probably not the allocation I would personally want. I would go with the chat ETF before. So, big picture, just look at the actual holdings, look if they're actually using a methodology that's getting you towards the stocks that you want. And if they're not doing that, just buy an index that's aligned to the NASDAQ. And that's going to generally give pretty good exposure to the themes. I've said in the past, I would buy, I own a lot of hyperscalers in real life, non-AI portfolio, my personal holdings. I mostly just don't put them in this portfolio because I think everyone already owns them and I want to get people tighter exposure to the trends. So I think just owning some allocation towards NASDAQ, if you're excited about artificial intelligence, is perfectly fine.